Hey guys, if you are planning a TransAlp mountain bike adventure, this is the video which you have to see. On my YouTube channel you will find separate videos about every single stage of this 7-day trip, but this video here is about the planning phase of the TransAlp adventure. So let's get started with the route. When we approached our adventure, we wanted to have something which is not too technical in the downhills, but at the same time we wanted to avoid paved roads as good as possible. The perfect route we found for this purpose is Albrecht route, which is named after a guy named Albrecht who created this route. As I always use my own planning tools in order to get my GPS data, I am not 100% sure if my route really matches Albrecht's route in 100%, but in the retrospect I can guarantee you that I would do this route exactly the same way again. If you are interested in up-to-date information about trail conditions and other things about this route, then I can really recommend to take a look at Albrecht's website, which I will also link down there in the video description. The tour starts in the very south of Germany in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, and after 7 days you will reach your final destination, which is Riva del Garda at the beautiful north shore of Lake Garda in Italy. In total, this tour covers 470 kilometers and you will do a vertical climb of 13,500 meters. And next to Germany and Italy, you will also go to Austria and Switzerland on your trip. Stage 1 takes you from Garmisch-Partenkirchen to Landeck in Austria. Landscape and trails never get rough on the first day, so this is quite a comfortable start into TransAlp adventure. Stage 2 brings you from Landeck to Ischgl, which is still in Austria. On that day you will enter high alpine terrain at altitudes beyond 2000 meters. Scenery gets very impressive and also trails get more demanding now. Stage 3 is one of the most stunning days of the whole trip. It takes you from Ischgl to Tschirf, which is already in Switzerland. Highlight of the stage and also one of the top highlights of the whole TransAlp is for sure the downhill trail from Fimperwas. Stage 4 starts in Tschirf and takes you to Crosio in Italy. From here onwards we exclusively stay in Bella Italia. As we only climb 1500 vertical meters, this is probably the most comfortable day of the whole week. Stage 5 takes us from Crosio to a small mountain village named Bezzo. On this tour we will reach the highest point of the whole tour, which is Basso di Gabbia at an altitude of 2620 meters above sea level. Stage 6 is packed with highlights. It brings us from Bezzo to famous Madonna di Campiglio. It features another downhill section which belongs to the top highlights of the whole TransAlp adventure. This highlight is the trail from the ridge named Forcellina di Mondozzo. And last but not least, there is stage 7, which takes us from Madonna di Campiglio to our final destination, Riva del Garda, at the north shore of beautiful Lake Garda. That's it about the route. More details on every single stage will be mentioned in the particular video of this stage. Now let's talk about the best season for TransAlp, and the one thing which determines the best season is the maximum altitude, which is 2600 meters above sea level. And you will reach this maximum altitude on 3 out of 7 days. Unless you plan to walk yourself and also your bikes through some remaining snowfields, I would not recommend to do the TransAlp before July. And since temperature and also daylight decreases, I would also not recommend to do it after September. Another important thing to consider is how you arrive at your starting point and how you depart from the end point of TransAlp. And here the best option usually is to just take the train. Garmisch-Partenkirchen is very well accessible. We came from Innsbruck, but there is also trains from Munich, for example, and from Munich and Innsbruck it's only a bit more than 1 hour to get to Garmisch-Partenkirchen. It's a bit more difficult to depart from Riva del Garda as there is no train station there. But since you have your bicycle with you, you can just ride your bike to the next train station, which is about 20 kilometers away. It's in Rovereto. And yeah, depending on your motivation, you can do this ride in 1 to 1.5 hours. And from Rovereto, you have all the options. All the big trains stop there and bring you either south to Italy or north to Austria, Germany, or wherever you would like to go. Another thing which has to be considered far in advance is hotels. Here you have a list of all the stops of our TransAlp adventure. Garmisch-Partenkirchen and Riva del Garda depends a little on your arrival and also your departure plans if you need a hotel there. But if you need a hotel, then it's quite easy to find a place there because those villages are quite touristic, so there's a lot of hotels available. The same is also true for Landec, Grossio and Madonna di Campiglio. It's also quite famous places and usually it's not a problem to find a hotel there. The critical villages are Ischgl, Czyrów and Bezzo. In Ischgl, the hotel is approximately 500 vertical meters above the village of Ischgl, which has reasons for equally distributing the vertical meters you do on each stage. And the hotel there is called Bodenalpe, and if you do not get a room in Bodenalpe, you have to rearrange the stages in order to get more equality in the vertical meters of climbing. So it's really advisable to take a look at this hotel at first. In Czyrów, it's also a very small village. I think there's only 2 hotels in Czyrów directly, but we didn't find a space there, so we had to go in a mountain village very close to it, which was called Lü. And the last village here is Bezzo, and here it's also only 1 hotel which is in this village, so you really should take care of finding accommodation there. So my recommendation is to first take a look at those 3 villages, find hotels there, and then plan your trip around those accommodations. I do not have any affiliation with hotels, but for the sake of completeness, I will give you a list of the hotels we booked in the description below the video, and I would book exactly the same hotels again, so we were really happy with what we had there. Last, I would like to talk to you about equipment, and here we will start with a very important question, not only in TransAlp planning, but also in general in your mountain bike life. I think families had been pulled apart on this one, and the question is hardtail or full suspension. And of course we also had this question in our group, and I can tell you we did not come to a common sense here, because I ended up with a hardtail and my 2 friends used their full suspension bikes. Now in the retrospect, who was right? If you ask me, I was right. If you ask them, they were right. And the truth maybe lies somewhere in between. Of course, in the uphill, I saved a lot of energy with my hardtail bike. It's much less weight you have to carry, also in the phase where you have to walk or carry your bike. But then when it comes to the downhill sections, then of course my friends had more fun there. So it's a personal opinion here, a personal preference. So whatever is available to you will do the job, either hardtail or full suspension. Here you can now see a full list of all of the equipment I had either on myself or in my backpack. I will also provide you this list down there in the video description for your reference. I do not want to go through all of this piece by piece now, but I would like to mention the most important things. First of all, your mountain bike shoes. Of course they have to be suitable for riding your bike, but since there is some ridges where you have to walk or carry your bike, they should also be suitable for walking in high alpine terrain. The other thing which is really important, and we realized that in the first days, you will see it then in the particular video of the stages, we really had bad luck. There was constantly heavy rain in some parts, And so we were quite lucky that we had some rain equipment with us. So I would recommend to take a rain cover for your backpack, also a rain jacket and rain bands for yourself. And in addition to that, maybe also some plastic bags which you can use for things inside of your backpack in order to protect them from rain. Then it's also important to remind yourself that there is also a time before and after the tour. So you will need some clothes to go to the breakfast or also to dinner. And some hotels also have some spa areas, so also bring your speedo with you. And the other thing which has to be considered is food supply during the tour. Whatever works for you, either gel, Bauer bars or isotonic powder is of course good, but you have to consider that you have to carry it. So I would not take the full week's supply with me. There is always civilization at least once a day, so there should be a supermarket where you can refill your supplies. And the last thing you can consider is that there is also items which not everyone has to carry. For example, a bike lock or toothpaste. If you're a group, it's enough if only one person has those things with him or her. This brings us to the last section of this video where I would like to share some key learnings with you now in the retrospect. As you do not want to carry too much with you, laundry is a really important topic. And I can tell you that a lot of those hotels along this route are used to bikers, and so they offer some laundry services for you, which is not really expensive. It's just a few euros. You deliver your laundry in the evening hours, and in the morning hours you will get it back, and it is also dry already. There is one or two hotels along the route where we stayed where they did not offer any laundry service, and in this case we just did it ourselves. We had a washing agent with us, and since those sports fabrics dry quite fast, it's not really a problem. In the morning hours everything is dry. In our group we had a really vivid discussion about having a rest day or not, and in the end we decided not to do it, and it was the absolute right decision. I think it's really difficult to plan a rest day in advance, but you have to do that because of course you have to book hotels according to that. And yeah, you never know when your body needs a rest day. Is it after day 3? Is it after day 4? After day 5? So this makes it really difficult. Of course, when you think about all those stages with about 2000 vertical meters every day, this is quite demanding. But if you do it in a low base and you do not push your limits, you will never come to a point where you really are so exhausted that you need one day for resting. And the last question is about group size. Of course, when you do a high alpine adventure, you should never do this alone for safety reasons. So I think the minimum group size is 2 people. And the other thing you have to consider is how complicated it gets, for example, when it comes to hotel bookings. And I think here the upper limit is 4 to maybe 5 persons, because if you have much more, then it will be really difficult to find accommodation for your group. The other thing which you should also consider is the physical strength of your group. Of course, people always have different levels, but you should try to have approximately the same level, because otherwise you will always have people spending half of the TransAlp waiting for others, or you will have people being in a constant hurry and completely pushing their limits. So try to have approximately the same physical level in your group. This is all for the moment. I hope there is one or the other information which is useful for your planning phase of your TransAlp adventure. I hope you liked this video. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up on it. As already mentioned, there is particular videos for every stage of the TransAlp, which you will find on my YouTube channel, and I will also link them down there in the description. So have fun watching those videos, and all the best for your TransAlp.